Remember, either you got it or you didn't. But now, with this new system, something the Trump administration tried to bring in the first time the US president was president, the new question is who gets left out? Who will this new system, when it's brought into play, favor and who will it hurt? And what does it mean? This is obviously the key question for India, for you. If you want to travel abroad, that's what we're taking a look at.
And Ankita shares her experience on how she survived minus 70 degrees Celsius on her period. She picked Siberia over several other destinations. She planned out. Why is that? What really was her experience like with the local population there? We will speak to her, talk to her about her story, how travel is now her job. She, remember, quit her job 6 years back and has been traveling full-time ever since. So we'll be speaking to her this morning on The Breakfast Club.
And after that, we take you to the road. Electric family cars are no longer a compromise. Can an EV handle city life and highway demands? Well, Kia Carens Clavis EV puts practicality to the test. Is it a smooth drive? Is it just another electric promise? We take a look right here.
Okay, then, the United States might be about to change the way it hands out H-1B visas. That's going to have a direct impact on several people who are looking to move to the US, who are wanting to work in the United States. Right now, it's a lottery system. If you qualify and apply, you're thrown into a random draw. But that could soon end. It could completely change. The Trump administration wants to bring in a new rule, one that picks candidates based on how much they're paid, how senior they are, or how much skill they bring to the table. Basically, the higher your salary or the more specialized your role, the higher your skill set, the better your chances.
Right. This change will only apply to the capped segment. What are we talking about? This is the 85,000 H-1B visas that are issued every year, including 20,000 for those with a US master's degree. Universities and research institutes will not be affected by these changes, but this is a highly coveted visa. And what we already know is that these are bodies that are allowed to hire foreign workers all year round. So universities will not have a lottery or a cap. Now, here's how it's going to affect India. India gets over 70% of all H-1B visas every single year that are given out by the US. That's hundreds of thousands of people, many working in tech, many sent through big outsourcing firms. These firms often flood the system with applications to increase their odds.
And if the lottery goes and it becomes about salary or skills instead, it could tilt the field. How? We're going to go across to an expert to find that out. But tech giants, top grads may benefit. The usual path that many Indian workers take might not work the same anymore. What does it impact and how does it impact India's tech ambitions? We want to ask that question. So joining us is someone who can decode this entire story for us. Manoj Goswami, founder and CEO of GTR Immigration, is with us this morning. A very good morning to you, sir. Hope you're doing well. Thank you for taking out the time. Mr. Manoj, first up, let's begin with the basics. What, if at all, US goes for this kind of a weightage option and replaces it with the traditional lottery system? What is it going to mean for the Indian population who's looking at or eyeing at H-1B visas, given it's about 70% of the total H-1B visas that are handed out every year?
Yeah, I understand. It's still things are not clear. But whatever is going on is Indian skill people, like especially for IT people, they will be impacted for sure initially. What Trump government is trying to do is much more transparency and fairness to the system. That is what they're saying at this point of time. So people who are already in US, they may be impacted, not sure, but in the future when they are asking for higher skilled and higher salary criteria, so it will be, they're trying to protect the US workers basically. 72% of this H-1B is from India. So
Okay, we'll try to re-establish that connection with Manoj. We'll just give it a second. It's a huge change, isn't it, Kritsween?
Yeah.
And what's very, very interesting is the change it's going to bring about. Because essentially, now if you're an entry-level person who has graduated probably from a university and is excited to either work in America or has graduated from America and wanted to continue working there, now that means that that's not an option for you, seemingly.
Yeah.
And seemingly it means that if you're a mid-tier professional, suddenly there's a whole world of opportunities.
Yeah.
But tell me this, how do you see this playing out for the US? Because Manoj, for the few minutes we did get him, was saying that this is to benefit the US. But in some ways, some experts argue that this could also hinder the US because that means that...
So it's going to bring about two changes, essentially. How it's going to help the US workforce is it's going to help the entry-level workforce in the United States, right? So US graduates are going to be given a preference over foreign graduates, international students, which means Indian students as well who've just graduated from the United States too. So we're going to take that question to Manoj, yes. But how it's going to impact in a negative way is that the mid-level, the mid-tier workforce of the United States is going to have to face increasing competition. So that's where it's going to get tricky. So it's great news for the young in US, not so much for the experienced and skilled, because let's not forget, Toya, the kind of workforce that's aiding the US tech world and is being hired from other foreign nations, India being one of the biggest contributors to that entire scenario that's unfolding or shaping up in the United States is huge. So it's going to mean a big change in that sense. And I don't think there's so much to worry about for the tech geeks in India, don't you think? Especially the skilled ones, the high paid ones.
So I want to just also take this discussion to a slightly different place, which is just this question of who is this going to affect and who it isn't. And if we just step away from India and even look at the global picture, one of the most interesting questions that experts are raising is that this is going to affect anyone who is not earning very much. And one of the loveliest examples, and I just want to share this with our audiences, is the 2023 Nobel Prize winner in physiology and medicine, Kathleen Carrico. Someone brought up her example because they said that when she first came to the US, she was earning $17,000 in 1985, which is today equal to $42,000. She would never have been allowed inside. So many experts saying you're going to lose out on people exactly like that. Well, we've got our expert back on the show. Manoj is back with us. Let's go over to him to understand more. Manoj, you were saying that it remains to be seen how this will affect, and that the US says that obviously this is good for the US, that's why the US is doing this. But we were wondering, Manoj, obviously it's good for anyone in the US who's young, they've just graduated, now there'll be less competition. But how will this affect mid-tier US professionals? Because that's where this change will take place, right? Mid-career people.
See, as of now, it is very, very early stage right now. So it is difficult to make a statement on this. But what I'm seeing is, it will impact somehow in a positively or negatively both ways. But it is too early to comment on specific pattern what it will come out with. So I would wait to see what is happening. Because a lot of discussion will happen and a lot of things will come forward and probably.
Okay, not a very clear line with Manoj. I think he's trying to highlight the fact that the proper rules, guidelines that are going to be followed if there is a switch from the traditional lottery system to a weighted system is still to come out, and that's going to essentially decide who's going to be impacted the most, who's not going to be impacted at all and need not worry. But there's a little bit of fear that's kicked in, isn't it, Toya? Anytime there are changes made to H-1B visa securing processes, we've seen how there's so much anxiety, especially in the Indian workforce that's looking at going abroad. There's a little bit of negative energy that gets kicked in, especially with Donald Trump, because given how he comes out with the most unexpected announcements, it can also get tricky at any point of time. I think so. Manoj is just sort of exercising a lot of caution.
I think what's also really interesting, so many of us have relatives, family members who are in the US, either on H-1B, either on green cards, cards.
Yeah.
But then recently in the last few years, there's also been this entire lobby of experts we've had on the show who've said maybe this will be a good thing. Maybe what it'll mean is that in the long term, the brain drain stops and more people stay in India. And it's a complex issue.
Yeah.
It's tricky to try to comment on because this is the kind of change that, you know, if you do get to go to the US, it impacts and changes your life in huge ways. It's a huge privilege to either go there or to turn it down, either way. So
Can
this
I
is
just
a
say
very...
there's another fear?
Yeah.
And US must watch out for this because let's say countries like Canada and the United Kingdom have a much friendlier immigration policy. So in case you're closing the doors on people, you know, there's going to be a shift there. Manoj is back with us. Manoj, what I don't understand from you is, and there are a lot of young people watching The Breakfast Club this morning. So tell them, what about students, Indian students who are, let's say, pursuing a master's degree in the United States? Is this going to be an advantage or a clear disadvantage for them? What is this going to mean for international students in the United States?
Yeah, international students will be having some advantages, what I see as of today, because if they do the master's degree or then PhD or higher studies, they will have much more qualification to go for this this kind of immigration process. It will be changing. I am from Canada. I'm a Canadian citizen. I do a lot of migration from US to Canada, and in the future I see that there are a lot of people would be interested in Canada to work from Canada for the US companies also. So that is what I see. But students, they will have some advantages for sure. Yes.
Okay, we'll double click on that, Manoj, to understand exactly how in a second. But I do want to touch on something Kritsween was saying right now and ask you, in the last few months, with all of the confusion around US immigration, have you already seen shifts take place? Are you seeing more people want to come to Canada, for example? And how are you seeing that happen? What groups, for example?
Yes, I get a lot of calls from US already. And basically those who have H-1B, and they cannot renew, or they're fearful that their visas will not be renewed. So they are looking for Canadian immigration. And last 6 months or more, it is happening. And I have helped some of the people already. They are in Canada right now. And more people are calling. So I think there is a shift, and there is a something going on in their brain that maybe we have to go out of the US, and where we can go, Canada is one of their options, and that is the first option they choose for, because the time zone and the same method of operations, the modus operandi are almost same, so they prefer to migrate to Canada. That is what I'm seeing for last 6 months actually.
For a second, let's try and go back to the drawing board. Manoj, can you help us differentiate between the two systems? For those who are wondering, what is a lottery system? What is a weighted system going to look like? Can you just draw that comparison for us, and how exactly it's going to be different from what traditionally has been followed?
Most of the outsourcing firms, they are getting advantages from this lottery system, because there is no salary specifications on that, or there is no salary,
yeah, it's
higher
purely based on luck.
Yeah, so in this case, what Trump is bringing the change is they will be selected on the basis of their salary and skill levels. So most of the people who have higher skill, long-term experience, or higher salary levels, they will be getting the chances. For that, what I'm thinking is outsourcing farms, like many companies from India, they will have a challenge in the future, that is for sure. And in that case, there would be much more shifting for their base, maybe in Mexico or Canada, all those countries, so that they can adjust this change. So this is what I'm seeing these days happening.
Okay, Manoj, it's an interesting change, and as you said earlier, we have to see how the rules fully pan out to understand exactly what this will look like and what the repercussions 2 years, 3 years down the line will be, both in India and in America.
I don't think it's going to impact 2026 because all enrollments are done already.
Exactly. But it'll be interesting to watch play out, and as we were saying earlier, interesting to see in India and in the US too, because this will mean changes for the US economy also. Manoj, thank you for joining us. We're going to be shifting focus now to something very different.
All right, let's get you stories from India and across the globe. First up, into the world of cricket. India continues to be hit by injury concerns, with Rishabh Pant copping a blow on his right foot that forced him off the field on the opening day of the fourth test against England in Manchester. Rishabh Pant was in significant pain, as you see on your screens as well, and had to be wheeled off the field in a buggy. During the 68th over of India's innings, Pant attempted a premeditated reverse sweep of Chris Woakes and ended up being hit on his right foot. Australia legend Ricky Ponting says that Pant not being able to put his foot on the ground is a worrying sign, recalling his own tryst with a already serious injury in the past. BCCI later also gave an update that Rishabh Pant has been taken for scans, and it's a medical team that's now monitoring his health situation.
After Madhya Pradesh, the Delhi government has declared the film Tanvi the Great tax-free. Sharing the update, BJP MP Rekha Gupta praised the film's powerful message of inclusion and determination. She said it's emotional and an inspiring story of a special girl chasing her dreams, and it's a film that deserves a lot of support.
Veteran filmmaker Boney Kapoor has shocked fans with a remarkable 26 kg weight loss, all without hitting the gym. Now flaunting a much leaner look, Boney has been spotted in casuals and formal attire, sparking viral buzz on social media. Fans are calling him dapper, unrecognizable, while many are curious about what really inspired this transformation. Boney Kapoor, known for producing blockbusters and recently venturing into acting, has once again found himself in the spotlight, this time for fitness.
It has been more than a century since the Titanic sank on its maiden voyage in 1912. Now, a Spanish company, Madrid Artis Digitals, has turned the Titanic into an immersive experience, complete with virtual reality elements, 360-degree projections, and a metaverse walk. Gel de Jong, the CEO of Madrid Artis Digitals, explains what visitors will see. The 120-minute experience plays out as a journey following the fictional Callahan family, starting with the ship's construction in a shipyard and following up to its actual crash, which, remember, took place between April 14th and 15th. Audiences are teleported back to time with VR headsets as they witness a recreation of Titanic's in-house orchestra, who were believed to have played till their last breath, even as the ship sank.
And in a quiet corner of Paris, the rhythmic hum of a drum carving machine and the soft thud of wool being hand-stitched into place echo through the 145-year-old workshop of Lee Bryan, co-owned by Rosalie Hoyts and Theo Marshall. Lee Bryan is the last artisanal mattress maker in Paris and one of the last in France. Founded in 1880, the brand was revived in 2024 by co-owners Rosalie and Theo, who took over from the previous owner with the determination to preserve the endangered craft. The workshop, while recently received a medal from Paris City Hall for its contribution to artisanal heritage, offers a stark contrast to the mass-produced foam mattresses that dominate the market.
And now to a much-loved reboot. Jamie Lee Curtis, Lindsay Lohan feeling nostalgic about the new Freaky Friday sequel. With only a $20 million budget, 2003's Freaky Friday, in which a girl and her mother exchange bodies, made over $160 million at the box office. The movie has had a huge cult following ever since. In this new movie, Curtis and Lohan reprise their role as mother and daughter 20 years on.
And on to the world of Fantastic Four. Hollywood A-listers Pedro Pascal and Vanessa Kirby hit the carpet in Los Angeles on the 21st of July for Marvel Studios' reboot of the Fantastic Four film series. WandaVision director Matt Shakman, who helmed the new movie, explained why he decided to set the film in the 60s. The new movie, titled The Fantastic Four First Steps, comes 10 years after the last Fantastic Four film flopped at the box office and received scathing reviews. Drawing on their Bond and superhero strengths, the foursome must take on the planet-devouring cosmic entity called Galactus, played by Ralph Ineson, and his herald, Silver Surfer, played by Julia Garner.
Lead actor, much-loved Friends star Matthew Perry's doctor Salvador Balsenja on Wednesday pleaded guilty to giving the star ketamine before his tragic death. During a hearing in LA, the doctor admitted to supplying 4 counts of the illegal distribution of the drug, which is used as a prescription anesthetic. The doctor will face a statutory maximum sentence of 10 years in federal prison for each of his sentenced hearings. This was scheduled for December 3rd. He's also been directed to surrender his medical license within the next 30 to 45 days.
And now on to a very interesting report. Stefan Erasmus has shifted the practices on his sheep farm in a bid to meet sustainable standards. For Erasmus, one of about 8,000 sheep farmers in the country, it's a step in the right direction in ensuring that he maximizes production while protecting the environment. We get you the special Reuters report. Take a look.
This sheep farm in South Africa has shifted its practices in a bid to meet sustainable standards. For Stefan Erasmus, it's a step in the right direction in ensuring that he maximizes production while protecting the environment.
All the things that we are now doing and changing are beneficial to the health of the animals, to our soil, to our plants, to this entire ecosystem.
Erasmus's family has been farming sheep in South Africa for 5 generations. But producing certified sustainable wool or meat requires a shift to farming practices. On his 19,000-acre farm, Erasmus aims to rebuild biomass, restore overgrazed land, and capture soil carbon, eventually earning carbon credits. For Erasmus, the process is something farmers should embrace.
We can't graze grass. We can't. So we need animals to do it for us, to provide us with protein. A lot of the plant evolved to be grazed. Once they graze, they get stimulated, and that's the way you put carbon back into the soil.
Erasmus also manages his herd sizes, rotates them between patches of land, and puts sheep dung back into the soil to fertilize it.
The main techniques that we use is we use the animals to use the biomass created by the plants to create dung to put onto the soil, so that that dung that is full of living organisms can go back into the soil and put the carbon that's in that dung into the soil and sequestrate it there.
Global livestock production generates around a fifth of all anthropogenic greenhouse gas emissions, according to the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization. Some scientists do acknowledge the significance of carbon credits as a sustainable tool to allow ecological restoration. However, the reputation of the credits has been dented by a string of scandals in which credit-generating projects failed to deliver the climate benefits they claimed. Joanne Bester, a consultant for the International Wool and Textile Organization, says farmers need to be better educated and financially supported to fund the process.
There is normally a capital expense that they have to take on, and they are often unable to do so. So a carbon market is well positioned to help us get some of the wealth from business back to the people on the land who can actually make a difference.
South Africa is one of the world's largest wool producers, and regenerative farming is a growing movement, although there is currently no data on how many of about 8,000 sheep farmers in the country follow the practice.
It's amazing to care for them, and when you've developed a passion for them, you also develop a love, and with that love comes higher productivity. Animals that are cared for produce better.
All right, now we head into break. After that, we are returning with a very, very special guest. Kritsween, who do we have on?
Up next, Ankita's joining us. She's a content creator and a full-time traveler. Her story from Serbia has got the internet talking about her. So we will talk to her about what she really experienced. We'll be right back.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
16-hour debate on Operation Sindoor has been scheduled for next week in the Parliament. This was announced by the Business Advisory Committee after strong demands from the opposition. But Rahul Gandhi continues to question Prime Minister Modi on his silence, particularly on the mediation that has been claimed as coming from America, as has been made in several claims by the President of the United States.
बहुत बड़े प्रॉब्लम्स हैं जो हम डिस्कस करना चाहते हैं. डिफेंस के प्रॉब्लम्स हैं, डिफेंस इंडस्ट्री के प्रॉब्लम्स हैं, ऑपरेशन सिंदूर के प्रॉब्लम्स हैं. हालात अच्छी नहीं है, पूरा देश जानता है. जो अपने आप को देशभक्त कहते हैं वो भग गए. राइट? प्राइम मिनिस्टर एक स्टेटमेंट नहीं दे पा रहे हैं. ट्रंप ने कितनी बार बोला है? 25 बार बोला है. ट्रंप ने 25 बार बोला है कि मैंने सीज फायर करवाया. ट्रंप कौन होता है सीज फायर कराने का? उसका काम थोड़ी है. मगर प्रधानमंत्री ने एक बार जवाब नहीं दिया. सच्चाई है, छुप नहीं सकते.
Take this across to my colleague Pallavi. Pallavi, finally a 16-hour discussion that has been announced. This is what is coming out of the BAC. But Rahul Gandhi is steadfast in crying foul. This time he's going after the Prime Minister. He is also talking about the several announcements that have come in on part of US President Donald Trump on having made that attempt to mediate between India and Pakistan. Which way do you see this headed, Pallavi?
So during the Operation Sindoor discussion, first in Rajya Sabha on Tuesday for 16 hours and most likely before that in Lok Sabha for around 16 hours itself, I think the focus of the opposition parties will be one. Why is it that constantly the American president keeps on staking claim as far as brokering a ceasefire is concerned, and we want the Prime Minister to respond to it. So far, no clarity coming in from the government whether the Prime Minister will be able to be present there or whether he is actually going to be responding. So that is one point over here. The second point that they are raising is that where are the terrorists? Where are they missing? Why have they not yet been nabbed? This is going to be the frontal attack coming in from the opposition towards the government. The government, of course, has said that it's an ongoing operation. There's a sensitivity matter involved. And it's not the first time really here. Every time the government has made it clear that there is no question of the ceasefire being brokered by America. This is something which Pakistan wanted. We gave it to them. In fact, the DGMO called up pre-lunch. We could not take that call. We spoke to them post-lunch, and that is why we conceded to the demands, but they are on a wait and watch. Both the sides clearly will not accept each other's debate, but finally, next week is when you're going to see the discussion take place on post-Operation Sindoor developments.
The fact that it has been decided that this debate is going to happen, it is going to continue through these several hours. By that time, I believe the Prime Minister is also going to get back. Would we see and can we expect the Prime Minister to speak on the floor of the House? And that question, I'd like to take this to Arunima, who is also with us on the broadcast. Arunima, if you could have heard that question.
So as far as the Prime Minister, I beg your pardon, Prime Minister responding to opposition is concerned, that is one demand from the Congress party on which they have been unflinching. So far, the indications from the government is that Raksha Mantri Rajnath Singh is going to respond to the debate on Operation Sindoor. That is what, we got an indication when he actually stood up in Lok Sabha also on day one of the monsoon session, and also made that point that I am willing, all government is willing to look at all your demands and discuss everything, let the House function. Prime Minister coming and answering the Congress is demanding, because they say this is the precedent. When 1962 war happened, it was Jawaharlal Nehru who took the House into confidence. Indira Gandhi did the same after 1971 when Bangladesh was created. And Atal Bihari Vajpayee, a Prime Minister who belonged to Bharatiya Janata Party, he too spoke up when Kargil happened. So why should there be a departure?
Well,
Welcome back. We now return with our person of interest. Today we're going to talk to Ankita Kumar, a travel creator who's gone viral for surviving minus 70 degrees Celsius in Siberia. And all of this happened while she was on her period. She has some very interesting stories to share. She's been doing this for 6 years. Solo travel, raw storytelling and picking places most of us wouldn't dream of.
She quit her job to travel and now she's a full-time creator. But how does she do it all? We thought we had to have her on to us. Let's go over to her to understand more. Hello, Ankita. We thought we'll talk to you about your travel to Siberia that's gone viral on social media. But first, before we do that, tell us a little bit about your journey, your story.
So I am Ankita Kumar. I am a full-time travel content creator now, but I actually come from a small town in Orissa called Rourkela. I was there for 17 years of my life. I left, I did my college in Bangalore for a bit, then I worked in Bombay for a bit in the production, in a production house, in an advertising production house. And I left that because that wasn't really for me and I started traveling the world full-time. Initially, I started posting on social media just as a way to keep my friends and family kind of updated on what is happening. But then slowly my social media picked up and now it's a full-time job for me and it's been about 6 years now.
Oh wow, a full-time travel job for the last 6 years. Sounds exciting, but tell us first up, before we take this conversation forward, how many countries so far, Ankita?
I am almost at 60. I'm at 59 now. So, yeah.
So tell us what drove you to quit your job altogether and create travel content. What was your motivation?
So see, I'll be honest with you, it's not something that I push people to do. I would never be irresponsible enough to say that you should just quit your job and do this. I feel like you have to be a little crazy to do it. And very honestly, I think it was a mixture of luck and hard work for me. And that's why it kind of worked out. And also because I genuinely really enjoy traveling. Like I love creating content, but for me, travel will always be over content creation. And I think you need to have that kind of obsessive love with something like this to take a big step like that, because I didn't have any backups. Like I literally just quit my job and I was like, this is what I want to do, because this is what makes me the most me. Like I felt the most alive when I traveled. And my first ever trip was to Vietnam and I was all alone because nobody was willing to come with me for that long. So I was just like, you know what, it's fine. I'm just going to do it myself. And I kind of told myself that I'm going to do one new thing every day, and I still try to follow that on my travels. Like I try and do one new thing. It can be something very simple, but I still try and do that. So yeah, I would never go as far as to say that you should just quit your job and start traveling, because that's not a very practical way to look about it. For me, it worked out, but yeah, I would say it was a mixture of luck and hard work.
Can I just say Vietnam is on my list too? But Ankita, you say it's travel over content creation. What do you hope to achieve through content creation, though? It's what you do full time. Do you just travel for yourself? Do you do it for the art of storytelling? Do you do it to motivate others to pursue their passion?
I think that's a great question. I feel like it's a mixture of all the three. I feel like at the heart of it is the want to see the world in its rawest forms, but it's also at the heart of it, bring that world in the rawest form in form of storytelling to the people around me. Because I feel like that's such a huge part of what I do. Like I want people to experience the magic of the world, and if they can't do it themselves, which is completely understandable, they can at least live it through my eyes. And I feel like it's a mixture. It's a mixture of the love of travel and the love of storytelling and the love of filmmaking, all mushed together in what I do.
How did your family respond when you quit and you decided to sort of travel full time, when you quit your job?
At that point, everyone just thought that it was a phase that I will get over. Especially my parents, they would just be like, "Ha, theek hai, ghoom lo, theek hai, you want to do this, do it for a while, and then we'll see when you want to get serious about things." And in terms of like people around me, I think it was a lot of ridicule as well. like, kya kar rahi hai? What are you doing? Is this really the way you want to live your life? And when will you do it till and stuff? Only a few years back, when I actually started making good money out of this, and they actually started seeing, such different aspects of the world come out in my content, is when they started taking me seriously. Like even now, sometimes to even explain to people what I do, it's such an unserious thing, like how do you make money? I'm just like, yeah, because I post content and brands pay me to advertise me. They're like, yeah, but why? So it's still a very new thing. Even though obviously like people are getting more used to the idea of content creation as a full-time, as a legit serious job, it's still quite new. So yeah, in the initial path, it was very difficult to convince people. But I don't think I did much of convincing, to be honest. I just let it be, and it kind of, touch wood, fell into place.
We're going to constantly keep playing out your Siberia pictures because they look so fascinating, and we're going to come to you with that question in just a bit. But before that, tell us whether you're a solo traveler, is that your preference, or do you travel with a select few? Are there friends, people you travel with everywhere you go?
It really depends on my mood. I love traveling solo, and that's something that I have gone back to doing this year. I did a solo trip to Iran and Iraq, which I absolutely loved. But yeah, I mean, it's not really that I will only do solo trips, or I'll not do group trips, or I won't travel with people. I love traveling with my friends. I love traveling with fellow content creators. I really enjoy traveling with my family as well. But I do still would say that solo traveling has a little bit of an edge over everything else for me.
Okay, it's time. Tell us about Siberia. You traveled to 2 Siberian cities. Temperatures drop as low as minus 70 degrees centigrade in those cities. Tell us about it.
It was really insane. Like, oh my God. It was just, like I mentioned before, it was just going from, okay, so it's like cold wind, to absolute pain, because you would feel like our faces were on pins and needles. Like it was painful to be out. We couldn't be out more than like 20 minutes at a stretch. We had to go back inside and get warm. Our phones would shut down. Batteries would drain out from laptops, from GoPros, from everything. So we had to keep warming things, keep charging things, and obviously like warming ourselves. We had to actually rent stuff, because nothing that we bought in India could survive that kind of cold. So we actually had to rent jackets, like huge, big, like good quality jackets, and boots as well, because nothing would sustain that kind of cold. Their cars shut down in minute, and once they shut down, they can't be started again. So literally they have their cars on for 5 months at a stretch, because once they shut down, they can't be started again. So it's like a really, really crazy place to stay in. But what is really incredible was to see how people have made everything so habitable there. Like you would think in minus 70 degrees, how do people even survive? But they're happy, and they've gotten these little comforts in place. Like for instance, every building there would have like 3 layers of doors, so that the cold wind doesn't come in. They have like such like amazing hacks to stay warm and to still lead a happy, fulfilling life without struggle. Like you would actually, like I had that in my mind, that oh my God, people must be really struggling there, or things must be so difficult to clean. Every place that I walked into there, whether it was a school, whether it was a grocery store, whether it was a house, everything was spick and span. And mind you, there's no running water there. Everything is frozen. So there were dry toilets, and as luck would have it, of course, I got my period while I was on the trip, and I had to step out. So there was a dry toilet outside the house. So every time I had to like use the washroom, I had to put on all the layers, step out in minus 60 plus degrees, and go into the dry toilet and do whatever, right? So yeah, I mean, it was an experience that I will never forget.
Oh my God, it sounds borderline painful. But why would you put yourself through that, Ankita? Why Siberia? How do you normally pick your travel destination?
So I love, like I mentioned before, I love pushing my limits. I love seeing how far I can push myself while still being safe. So I think the question was, how did we pick this place and how did we manage it? It was very difficult because Siberia is in Russia. and all the websites you would find or all the people that you would find, everything would be in Russian. So it was really difficult to communicate with people. We would literally only communicate with our with the people who were helping us figure out how to do what to do is through Google Translate, because they wouldn't understand what we are trying to say. We wouldn't understand what they are trying to say. So it was just a complete mess. But I love that. Like, I live for this kind of travel, because this is what shows you that it's really out there, right? Like, there are very few people who have actually been able to do something like this. And for me, it was just to exist in that temperature, you know. Like, I was so fascinated by it. Like, you know, even things like there's no like I mentioned, there's no running water, right? So all of the pipes are above the ground. Everything is above the ground. Like, that's how they live all of their lives, and people still live there. It's not like they're like, oh, this is too difficult, so we're just going to leave. They don't. They have made an entire ecosystem around temperatures like this, and for me, that is extremely fascinating. So yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Tell us, Ankita, what about traveling gives you this kick? What kind of travel plans do you normally go for? And is it usually adventurous in this manner? Is it historical places? Is there something? Just tell us that, like, you know, what is it that you go for?
Everything, actually. I think for me, it's adventure. It's the human condition, right? Like, how human beings are. Like, it's so fascinating for me as to how people do these things and survive out there in the world, and there's so much to learn from them. But it's also obviously like meeting all of these people. They're all so kind. They were all so sweet. Like, you know, if I was living in a condition like that 365 days a year, I would be cranky. But they weren't. They were the kindest people. They would like make ice cream out of like whatever they have, and they like give it to us. And they had this like, oh my God, one of the worst things I've ever put in my mouth is this thing called raw horse liver.
Oh my God.
And that is their snack. Because nothing survives there, right? There's nothing growing. There's no vegetables. There's no like, there's nothing naturally grows there. So everything is imported. And the only thing that can actually survive those kind of temperatures is meat. So literally their entire market was just full of meat. There was fish, there was meat, everything was imported. And their snacks were like how we eat popcorn and Lays. They were eating raw horse liver, right? It was disgusting to me. But it was so fascinating to me that this is what these people love, and that is incredible. And so I love learning about how about people's cultures, food habits, all of that. And I love exploring a country through its people and through its food. That I think is like a huge part of
all of this.
What I like exploring, and of course, adventure is all a lovely part of it.
You're clearly a foodie, and we see you, you know, in some of those reels that you've put up, showing off that huge frozen fish. But I hope you're a non-vegetarian, Ankita. I assume you're a non-vegetarian going by the comfort in the visuals.
So I eat everything, but even for me, it was very difficult to survive there. So we had an idea that it will be difficult to do that. So we actually took a lot of ready-to-eat stuff. We took theplas, we took ready-to-eat stuff from MTR, from Haldirams, all of that. So we could just add water and eat it. Because honestly, after a point, it was very difficult for even a person like me who's usually open to trying everything to eat that food, because there's literally nothing in there. There's no namak, there's no masala, there's literally nothing. It's just meat. So that gets a lot. Like, it's very difficult to consume that, especially because we were there for like 2 weeks almost. Like, so yeah, dehydrated food and ready-to-eat food.
Okay, those are two very good tips.
And for us.
Tell us, Ankita, content creation isn't everything that, you know, we're seeing. This is so cool, but there's also before and after that includes planning, deciding on content, editing it, the less glamorous parts, one would say. How easy or difficult is it to be a travel vlogger?
So I'll be very honest, it's not for everybody. It's really not, and it's not easy by any standard, because like you mentioned, there's so much going on, right? Like, we have to film stuff in these difficult conditions, by the way. So like, even in Siberia, when I had to film without my gloves, and that was excruciating pain, but it's my job, so I had to do it, right? So yeah, it's like creating content in difficult situations, thinking of concepts. editing, packaging it in a way that people will actually enjoy. You have to think of virality, but you also have to think about relevance, but you also have to think about, being ethical about everything. But at the same time, it has to be creative, it has to be engaging. So there's a lot of things that go into this, right? And literally, like, till a few years ago, I was a one-man army, right? Like, I was editing my own stuff, I was managing my own brand, I was doing everything myself. But now I've realized that it's much better for me to have a team with me who can actually take over some of the stuff. So I'm not doing everything all together, because I feel that leads to a burnout. So now I still feel like I can kind of only do the things that I love doing, and the rest my team can manage. But when people say that when you love what you do, you never work in your life, I think that's bullshit. Pardon my French. I think that's just not how things work, because when you're doing something that you absolutely love, you actually never stop working. Like, even now, even if I'm like, oh, I want to take a break and not think about work at all, it doesn't happen. Like, I'm still thinking about work. But for me, personally, it works, because I'm incredibly passionate about travel. I'm incredibly passionate about my job. And so there is nothing in this world that I would rather do than do exactly what I'm doing right now. So touch wood. And I'm really lucky that I found something that was completely up my alley. But yes, in no way can I say that it is easy or it is for everybody, but it is for me.
Oh gosh, totally. I mean, imagine having to make a to-do list while you're vacationing. I just can't do that. But have you had a burnout yourself, Ankita? A vacation where you've just felt like not shooting anything for travel content, not posting anything, you're just enjoying your travel. Have you had that experience so far?
Yes, I have had burnouts before where I've just not felt like. In fact, I was just coming out of it. And I wouldn't call it a burnout, because, yes, last year I had a burnout where I was just like done. I didn't want to shoot, I didn't want to create, I didn't want to put anything out. But now, this year, when I was reaching that stage, is when I was like, okay, I know I'm reaching that stage, so I'm going to take that break. So I just came back from a trip in South Africa with my brother. And that was like a proper break for me. Like, we just like chilled. We went to like coffee houses. We drank coffee, had great food, great wine, drove around South Africa and just had a great time. Even after I came back, I was like, I don't feel like posting. So I didn't. And I took like another 1 week break where I just did not take up any work. And I only just like 2 days ago, I started posting again. So I feel like I'm getting better at handling the whole burnout situation. But yes, burnout in content creation is a real thing, and I don't think people talk enough about it.
Love the honesty.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ankita.
It's
That's
been
all
a
the time
joy
we have.
having you on, Ankita. Thank you for taking us to the raw side, the hard side, but also all the lovely stuff. Okay, we're going to take you now to something very different. Electric cars are no longer just about cutting emissions. They're about fitting seamlessly into everyday family life. And Kia's latest offering, it's the Karen's Clavis EV, claims to do exactly that. Practical for city drives, capable enough for the highway.
Does it deliver where it matters the most? Friends from Overdrive, take it for a spin. Here's what they've had to say. Take a look.
Kia has been throwing darts at nearly every viable segment in India's automotive market, save for the hatchbacks of course. And most of them have hit the bullseye. With the new Karen's Clavis EV, it's taking a sharper aim at family buyers who want the practicality of an MPV without the looming spectre of diesel bans or fuel price inflation. But the question really is, can a compact electric MPV like this do the double duty of being a comfortable highway cruiser and also be the sensible urban family carrier while providing the kind of range that you expect from this body style? In the Korean's EV roadmap, the hardware here won't surprise you. The Clavis EV borrows heavily from the Hyundai Creta EV. Same motor, same battery pack with a few tweaks to the battery management system to suit the different weight and the use case. It also means it's a healthy blend of performance and efficiency. It's still front-wheel driven, it's still smooth, it's still very silent, and it's got that instantaneous torque off the line like you'd expect from an EV. But more importantly, it's all about how the Clavis EV behaves when it's on the move. It is exactly what you want in a car like this. Not thrilling, but always smooth and responsive. There's a healthy amount of power and torque on offer, enough to keep up with the traffic, overtake with confidence, and handle a full house without feeling sluggish. It's not going to pin you back in your seat when you press the throttle, but there is still instantaneous torque. There is still enough torque to surprise you of how this compact 3-row people mover can behave on the road. Put your foot down and the power is delivered cleanly, especially in sport mode, where throttle response becomes noticeably sharper. Eco mode, as you would expect, dials things back and is best saved for urban errands. The normal mode strikes the most balanced tune, and that is where you will spend most of your time driving. Where the Clavis EV really shines is in how composed it feels. For a tall 3-row MPV, body roll is surprisingly well contained. And a big credit for that goes to the floor-mounted battery pack. The batteries in the floor keep the center of gravity low, and that keeps the car planted when you are driving around bends or even when you are making lane changes, etc. And that also keeps the occupants safely planted as well, especially the ones who battle motion sickness. So travel-hating kids, senior citizens, people with motion sickness, they're all going to secretly thank Kia for it. Ride quality is well judged. There's enough firmness to keep the body in check over bad roads, but not enough to get crashy or uncomfortable. It still irons out speed bumps and rough patches like any good family car should. The steering is conveniently light in most of the driving scenarios. It does weigh up a little bit when you're at highway speeds. It's enough to give you a predictable performance. It's not extremely talkative, it's not extremely communicative, but you're not going to be attacking corners with an MPV like this, and Kia knows that, and that is exactly how the steering has been tuned. Braking is progressive, and the regen system offers multiple levels, letting you adjust how aggressively the car slows down when you lift off. It's not just the electric motors, even the ground clearance has gone up, which is difficult to do with a ICE vehicle that has been modified into an EV. We saw that with the Creta as well. Here also the ground clearance goes up by 5 millimeters, 200 mm total. It does have a bit of an implication in the floor or how you're sitting in the second or the third row. You sit in a bit of a knees up position. So if you're long-legged or fussy about under-thigh support, that is the only complaint that you'll have, but it's not a deal breaker at all. In fact, the space is really good for your feet. Knee room is quite good. Headroom is also excellent. View outside of the windows, whether you are a kid or an adult, excellent again. You also get this blind to get some privacy if you so need. And now because of the panoramic roof with the AC vents having moved to the outside, you get this nice airy feel in here. So long distance journeys, absolutely no problem at all. This is a comfortable place to be in.
Alright, that's all for now, but we'll be right back in just a few seconds. Stay tuned.
Machi?
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
16-hour debate on Operation Sindoor has been scheduled for next week in the Parliament. This was announced by the Business Advisory Committee after strong demands from the opposition. But Rahul Gandhi continues to question Prime Minister Modi on his silence, particularly on the mediation that has been claimed as coming from America, as has been made in several claims by the President of the United States.
बहुत बड़े प्रॉब्लम्स हैं जो हम डिस्कस करना चाहते हैं. डिफेंस के प्रॉब्लम्स हैं, डिफेंस इंडस्ट्री के प्रॉब्लम्स हैं, ऑपरेशन सिंदूर के प्रॉब्लम्स हैं. हालात अच्छी नहीं है, पूरा देश जानता है. जो अपने आप को देशभक्त कहते हैं वो भग गए, राइट? प्राइम मिनिस्टर एक स्टेटमेंट नहीं दे पा रहे हैं। ट्रंप ने कितनी बार बोला है? 25 बार बोला है। ट्रंप ने 25 बार बोला है कि मैंने सीज फायर करवाया। ट्रंप कौन होता है सीज फायर कराने का? उसका काम थोड़ी है। मगर प्रधानमंत्री ने एक बार जवाब नहीं दिया। सच्चाई है, छुप नहीं सकते।
Take this across to my colleague Pallavi. Pallavi, finally a 16-hour discussion that has been announced. This is what is coming out of the BAC. But Rahul Gandhi is steadfast in crying foul. This time he's going after the Prime Minister. He is also talking about the several announcements that have come in on part of US President Donald Trump on having made that attempt to mediate between India and Pakistan. Which way do you see this headed, Pallavi?
So during the Operation Sindhu discussion, first in Rajya Sabha on Tuesday for 16 hours and most likely before that in Lok Sabha for around 16 hours itself, I think the focus of the opposition parties will be one. Why is it that constantly the American president keeps on staking claim as far as brokering a ceasefire is concerned, and we want the Prime Minister to respond to it. So far, no clarity coming in from the government whether the Prime Minister will be able to...
Welcome back. Now we bring to you a special section on financial markets powered by Money Control Pro, Money Control's premium destination for investing and business insights. First up, and the market's GIFT Nifty indicates that Indian equities are likely to open in green. Market sentiment in Asia is positive and equity indices were trading higher today. The US trade pact with Japan has raised hopes on US furthering trade deals with more countries and ending uncertainty. Gold prices were range bound in early trades while crude oil prices inched up on optimism that trade deal momentum is good for global economy.
Okay, let's move to a sector next. With rising disposable incomes and easing inflation, travel is increasingly becoming a lifestyle choice. Holidays are no longer limited to peak seasons. People take frequent short trips all year round, creating healthy demand for hotel rooms. Government's efforts to promote tourism and improve infrastructure too are driving travel demand. The times are good for the hotel business. You can log into Money Control Pro to find out more about India's travel and tourism sector and other actionable insights on the market. It's the premier destination for all investing views and financial insights you're ever going to need. Brought to you by Money Control. All right,
that's all
that,
for now.
Yeah,
that's all for now. Tomorrow we're going to be talking to a few people who are going to be giving you Friday motivation going into the weekend, and they're going to talk about why they did not opt for what was being asked of their parents perhaps, which is, why aren't you going for an engineering degree, or why aren't you going for a medical profession? Why did they turn to what truly appeals to them, what they truly love to do? We're going to take you through some story.
Yeah, how do they do that? And in some cases, how do they work through one job to earn enough to be able to do a second job? It's a story all about pursuing the dream that's been hidden inside you. Do join us tomorrow morning at 7:50 just for us to tell you this story and more. We'll see you. Goodbye.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.